Hi everybody, welcome to Fall Festival. Can you believe that it is already time? That it is already fall, that the leaves are falling off the trees? Time just flies when you're having fun. I'm excited because, well, it's Fall Festival, and because fall is one of my favorite seasons. What I'm going to show you today looks like it might not be fall related because it involves pool noodles. These are not for the pool. These pool noodles are going to be used to help us get our quilt sandwich ready for the Cutie Breeze frame. I have a quilt that I want to quilt. I have already pieced it. I have already cut out the backing, and I've already cut out the binding. Now I need to make the quilt sandwich, and sometimes that can be a daunting task. You've got all of this stuff, and you need to be able to have enough area to spread out and to create this giant sandwich. Well, you're still going to need room to spread out, but once your sandwich is done, this technique makes it a lot easier to move it around. For this technique, you're going to need some 505 spray. If you have a favorite spray that you like to use or a powder, go ahead and use your preferred method. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is my backing. I'm going to spread it out. You can do this wherever you have enough room to spread out. Now, when you're doing your backing, you're going to want to roll it up to where you see the pretty pattern on the outside of your pool noodle. You are going to be rolling it up on the pool noodle. So pick a pool noodle, any pool noodle. If you see, I didn't just purchase these pool noodles, they were in storage out in our garage, and my husband used wire in order to put them all together. So that's why I have deformed pool noodles, but they will work perfectly fine. Now this fabric is just a little bit longer than my pool noodle for my backing, and that's okay. I am going to line it up evenly on my pool noodle, just like you would if you were going to actually baste normally. And then you want pins. And I know I am not a pin fan, but clips cannot be used in this particular instance that I'm aware of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in to my pool noodle at an angle. So when I roll up this fabric, it's not going to be bulgy. There might be a little bulge at first, but it will be fine. And I'm going to do this with 3 pins. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread my fabric out, and I'm going to roll. This fabric has quite a few wrinkles in it. You know what I'm going to do to get those out? I'm going to use water in a spray bottle. I just gently mist where the wrinkles are. I don't want it to be wet, 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 but I just want enough water to kind of get the wrinkles out. And then I'm going to roll it up, and this water is going to help get rid of those wrinkles. And I'm rolling it up in a fashion where it's flat. I can also push out my fabric on my pool noodle so that those wrinkles aren't going to be wrinkles when they're on my noodle. This backing is done, and I'm going to put a pin in it. I like pinning this kind of stuff because even when I touch the back, I don't get stuck. Backing ready to go. Now you just have to find a place to put it. Now we have our batting. Believe it or not, batting has 2 sides. The way that you can tell if your batting is on the right side or the wrong side is the right side will be softer. The wrong side will feel a little more rough and pimply. Your batting is just like your backing, and you want to roll it up so that the right side is on the outside. Now, last but not least is my quilt top. It is a pattern that I call raining charms. So at the top, there is a lot of white space, but when you get to the bottom, it's like all the rain of the charms has collected. I like it. I think it's a little cute. I am wrapping this so this side is going to show. Got a pool noodle. This pool noodle is longer than my quilt. So you always want your backing and your batting to be bigger than your quilt top. So I'm going to start wrapping. Now this one is harder to get started because you've got, piecing. And like I said, I like to go on an angle, and I didn't do that here. If you go on an angle, then you can kind of flatten your pins down. See, that was really quick, huh? So let's get to the next step of our pool noodle process. So I have gathered my pool noodles on the table, and I have unwrapped my backing. So my backing is sitting here exposed. I also put my batting right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my batting with my backing, and I'm going to unpin my batting, and I'm going to spray my 505 in that center area. Then I'm going to roll my batting out, and I'm going to spread it flat. That is now attached with basting spray. Now I'm going to spray my batting, and I'm going to roll out my quilt top, and that is now sprayed with basting spray. As a matter of fact, it's kind of wrinkly right there, so I'm going to lift it up. It hasn't dried enough. Now I didn't really get this little area, so I'm just going to do a quick line of basting spray and pat it down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll from this roll up. Push it out, straighten it out, and bring everything up. I thought I lost it. Bring everything up. Here I have quilt, and I do not use a heavy hand on the basting spray. Okay, so here I've got some wrinkles that I do not want, so I'm going to try and push them out before they hit my quilt back, and then if there are any wrinkles, I'm going to push them out, wash them out, and then we'll make sure on this backing that there are no wrinkles. Now we have quilt at the beginning of this and the end of this. So the pool noodle ensures that if you don't get to your quilt right away, it is definitely going to keep a rounded shape, and you aren't going to have any creases in your quilt sandwich. So let's take this to the gray frame with the Little Rebel, and I'm going to show you some of my favorite quilting designs. So here I have my pool noodle quilt sandwich. The first thing I need to do is I need to load my quilt to the Cutie frame. So I'm going to set this down on the floor for right now. I'm going to unroll my quilt, And now I can load my quilt sandwich. So the initial load is pretty easy. I want to make sure that I can get all the way to the edge of my quilt. So I'm going to move this, and then I should be good with the top of my quilt. So I can pull this up a little bit more. Now I'm going to grab one of my clips, and I'm going to clip it on. I'm going to grab another quilt clip. There we go. Okay, so we should be in good shape. Now I'm just going to let this fall. And this is essentially called floating a quilt top. So I can put those on. Okay. And I'm gonna twist a little so I can make that taut. I'm gonna put this on. So now we need to decide what thread we want to use. Best way to see what kind of or what thread you want to use is to put a little bit of it, like pull some off the spool and lay it on your project and see what you think looks best. If you want your thread to not be the center of attention on your quilt, then a gray is always a good option. I wanted to go over some of my favorite quilt patterns. My first and all-time favorite, and one that is appropriate for, I think, any project, is the meander. Is exactly what it says. It is a meander. It is just moving across your fabric, and a true meander won't cross any lines. So this is, it's almost like a river. Or let me do a little more. So that is a meander. The next design that can be used is a loopy meander. Now, a loopy meander is exactly what it sounds like, and that particular meander, you can cross lines. And as you can see, a loopy meander is loopy, which is always fun because then you can cross lines and you don't feel like you've broken any rules. You will find that as you grow in your quilting ability, that a lot of it is just experimenting. Don't be afraid to use new patterns. Don't be afraid to mess something up. The last technique that I'm going to show you is E's. So an E is the cursive version of the E. So let me see if I can get out of here. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to echo my E's. Now it kind of looks like you're stuck a little bit, but never fear, you can use a paisley or another E to get out of the situation. And echo, echo, echo. We have an E here, which looks a lot like a loopy meander. I've echoed these E's again, and here I've started more E's. So you can use that particular design all over your quilt. Thank you so much for joining me for Fall Festival. I hope that you learned some new techniques that you can use. Don't be afraid and get in there and finish your quilts. It just takes practice. Remember our positive affirmation. I am a genius quilter. Okay, you have to say it too. I am a genius quilter. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everyone. Happy Fall Festival!